Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. I'm Antara and you're watching Point Break. A few weeks ago, Anthropic's Claude Mythos 5, a model which is capable of exploiting and identifying software vulnerabilities more effectively than almost any human security expert, was temporarily restricted by the US government. Access since then has, of course, been restored. But the episode revealed something much bigger. Because for the first time, governments were debating not just how powerful an AI model is, but who should really be allowed to use it in the first place. Because the same AI that strengthens cyber defense can be used to undermine it. And that debate lands directly in India's lap. Because just last month, MeitY empaneled 6 companies to deploy AI across government departments. India is entering the deployment phase of its AI journey. And according to the RBI's latest financial stability report, AI-enabled cyber threats are now the single biggest risk facing banks and financial institutions over the next 12 months. AI, in fact, is already sitting on both the sides of the battlefield. Banks are deploying it for fraud detection and risk monitoring. Attackers are using it to clone voices, generate phishing campaigns, create synthetic identities, and automate reconnaissance at a scale and speed that no human team can possibly match. UPI processes billions of transactions every month. The attack surface has never been larger. So the question really is that are we entering the first true AI cyber arms race? And will the future of cybersecurity depend not just on who has the best security team, but who has access to the most capable AI? That, ladies and gentlemen, is the question that we are going to be asking today. I'm Antara, this is Point Break. Let's get right into it. My guests today bring exactly the combination this conversation needs: deep operational experience on the ground and governance expertise at the system level. Yogesh Thanage is the CEO and cybersecurity consultant at Shellstrong. With 17 plus years in cybersecurity, digital forensics, incident response and cyber law, he has in fact personally consulted on over 15,000 crime investigations for law enforcement agencies and over 2,500 cybersecurity incidents for private organizations. He, in fact, has also trained more than 35,000 government officers and 7,500 IT professionals. Yogesh, it's an absolute pleasure to host you here on Point Break. And second guest today with me is Ashutosh Singh, who is the co-founder and CEO of Revrag AI, a technology leader with over 20 years of experience spanning AI governance, cloud transformation, DevSecOps, and enterprise security as well. He has in fact directed over $100 million in enterprise transformation programs and writes extensively on AI governance, risk, and audit frameworks. Ashutosh, it's really good to have you here with us.
Likewise.
Gentlemen, in fact, today, I want to talk about the cybersecurity risk and, how it is really spanning out. Because the RBI's framing in its latest financial stability report is deliberate. I would say it's also significant. Because the Central Bank of India is saying that, AI-enabled cyber threats are now a financial stability concern. I would say that is a different category entirely, because traditionally cyber attacks were viewed as an IT problem, right? Today, the RBI is saying that a successful attack can affect payment systems, it can affect customer trust, it can affect financial markets, and in general, the broader economic activity. So in a country where, UPI processes billions of transactions and digital finance underpins daily commerce, cyber resilience is, I would say, increasingly a macroeconomic issue. Yogesh, my first question is to you. You have consulted on over 15,000 crime investigations and I believe 2,500 cybersecurity incidents. So what I want to know from you is, in your experience on the ground, has the nature of the threat, actually changed with AI, or would you say it's the same threat just moving faster?
No, I've seen quite a tragic change in the way the cyber attackers are coming up. I believe user of any tech for that sake, the user as well as abuser of any tech are the threat actors. And I can experience that with a lot of incidents that we are responding to, either with corporates or with the law enforcement. They have started using AI much before that a common person has done ever. and also to a level that organizations are trying to adopt themselves to use this new tech to enhance their capabilities. So yes, they are. I believe that they have already gone to a good extent of using AI in their cyber attacks and having it more sophisticated, more realistic. Okay, and they are, unlike we are discussing about Mythos, which is capable of doing vulnerability assessment. This is something which we already, know that there is something which has been built to test the vulnerabilities of existing softwares. We have also come across different types of LLM models which has been used, trained by cyber attackers, and they are already little ahead than most of the, I will say, investigation agencies across the globe. So yes, the thing, unlike I will just repeat, it's first user and abuser are attackers, and I can see that shift in their attack style.
Understood. Thank you for answering that. Ashutosh, my next question is to you. The RBI has made a specific framing shift from operational risk to financial stability risk, right? From a governance and audit standpoint, what does that shift actually require organizations to do differently? Because I believe those two risk categories demand, very different responses by themselves.
No, I think you rightly said, first of all, coming from the background,
Yeah.
that now it is not just at the IT level, right? Actually, AI is being used across the organization if it comes to BFSI, right? It is being used in, let's say, in onboarding, payments, fraud detection, lending, customer support, collections, all of it, right? So if, let's say, AI is becoming the center, then the guardrails need also be very, very centralized, right? There needs to be an observation layer, there needs to be an audit layer, there needs to be much more going into what actually is required to go in a production environment, right? Everybody is excited about AI, but they are forgetting that you can deploy faster, but having AI governance in place requires a lot more commitment than it seems, right? And being a banker, their first job is to basically have every inch, every bit of governance that is required in a banking system. And that's why RBI, which is trying to basically control all of it together so that there's no financial instability that is occurring because of these minor issues. And if see, BFSI is all about trust, right? If there is any big thing that might happen in a bank, that will impact all the other bank as well, right? So I think that it is a very good step to at least go about and acknowledging that yes, there is a risk, and everybody should basically participate in having that governance around it.
Absolutely, Ashutosh. Thank you for that. And this is a question that I want to ask to the both of you. Could a major AI-enabled cyber attack create systematic financial disruptions in India? And also, are banks still treating this as, a technology problem when it's actually, I would say, almost like a business risk and potentially a national risk as well?
Yes,
So
I'll take this first.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, banks looking at this particular thing very negatively. Like definitely, like AI is again a tool. Is one of it. There are a lot of other technologies around that. Yes, because of an AI, the execution speed has gone faster for everyone. The way banks look at it is like how they are trying to adopt it and use it for their own benefits. At the same time, they need to understand the other actors would be also adopting that and going to use against them. Now, AI and cybersecurity are two different aspects altogether. What I've seen with banks, in most of them, like I've been working majorly with UCBs because I am also working with RBI on that part. Compliance which RBI has set to raise their resilience level is actually a very a commendable one. They have been continuously asking them to do many things on the part of building their resilience, but are they actually willing to do it on their own, or it is because someone has made it as in compliance to it. Now the days are gone where you just look it because we need to have a certain compliance in place and get the things going, and that's why we are doing it, rather than being more serious. And it is now coming to their survival aspect. Unlike Ashutosh has clearly mentioned, it is all about trust. Imagine
Correct.
the bank where you have and your account is under cyber siege, and let's say, even the bank is losing money. At the end of the day, RBI circular says if it is the bank's fault, then bank will pay. But at the like it is again the cost of that goes to their reputational losses and financial losses, both of it. And that's why I believe that the banking sector should not treat this as, just to do because for the sake of doing it, rather than using an AI to build more resilience, because the other party is also using an AI. So the execution, what I've seen as transformation, the thing that it used to take a good amount of time before, now because of an AI, it can be done more faster, more better, and cheaper also. Similarly, on the part of they building their own resilience, they should be using it, and also not only doing, and like I will repeat, not only for the sake of doing it, because there is a compliance put by an RBI or RBI is coming after them, they should get awake on their own and start marching towards it consciously.
Right. Ashutosh, your take on it?
Yeah, I think a lot of it Yogesh has already covered, but I'll just give a small analogy to it, right? We all know what is crypto, right? So we've seen a lot of attacks that has happened in crypto, right?
Yeah.
And there is no central team which is actually regulating it. It is all public ledger, right? So if anything breaks, it breaks the trust of overall public, right? But in India, RBI has played a very significant role in actually helping us get through all those basically economic crises that would have been there, right, in 2008 and multiple attempts, right? So I think AI is kind of electricity. It will be used as electricity in every nook and corner.
Yes.
As you know, we have departments to handle all of that, right? We have departments to take care that if, let's say, somebody is getting electrocuted, how to basically maintain it, right? So it, banks also need to be very, very vigilant about that how they are going to implement AI, right?
Okay.
And that too, not internally, externally as well, right? They have to communicate to their customer as well that how we are actually consuming AI.
Right. Understood. Thank you for that, Yogesh and Ashutosh. In fact, I want to steer the conversation a little bit here, and I want to talk about that mythos moment, right? When the Mythos 5 episode was, I believe, perhaps the first major example of, a government intervening around access to a frontier AI model, specifically because of its cyber capabilities. Now, this was a debate about whether an AI model was too capable at finding and exploiting software vulnerabilities to be widely accessible. Because for the first time, access to an AI model became, a national security question. In the same way that, semiconductor exports or say satellite technology have historically been regulated. And Ashutosh, my next question is to you here. Would you say that the Mythos episode a preview, of how governments will regulate frontier AI going forward? And also from an AI governance standpoint, are cyber capable AI models now effectively strategic assets that need to be treated like semiconductors or, dual use technology?
I think this has happened to India many a times, right? When nuclear happened, they tried, like every other country tried, that nuclear power should not be going to all of these countries, right? We have tried doing multiple attempts to basically innovate in-house and then basically do it, right? I think it has come to that now. And that is very, very evident if US government is actually coming in and basically saying to a private entity that you can't basically open up your powerful model to other countries. This is a statement in itself, right? So I think every government now needs to basically think about that. Yes, it is a race uh, in the Apollo days when there was, let's say, rockets. Today we have models, right? And
Correct.
when there are attacks being done on, let's say, an Anthropic by Alibaba to distill all of their data, then it is actually a very crucial race that has already begun, right? We are just witnessing it and trying to basically be a part of it and trying to see if we can make sense of it, and basically be prepared from our angle as well, right? So I think, yeah, it is a very crucial race that has
Right.
already begun, and Indian government needs to basically prepare themselves as well, and we have proven ourselves in many other races that has been done,
Certainly.
right?
Certainly, Ashutosh. Yogesh, here is the paradox, right, at the heart of this. Restricting access to a model like Mythos 5 slows down defenders who need it to find vulnerabilities before the attackers do, right? But opening access risks putting the same capability in the hand of threat actors. So, from your experience in cyber forensics and incident response, which side of that argument worries you more?
While they are trying to restrict the access, is it actually been restricted or not? That is worrying me a lot. Uh, how much real is that? And you are now just focusing on one particular thing which is there out, and it has been said that it will do the better vulnerability detection even for an existing softwares. What about the other ones? That, like, you are just focusing on one thing, okay, and you feel that that is the only thing. If we can delay it, and probably we may delay the attack techniques, what about the things which has not yet known? The real power of an AI is still unknown to most of them, even those the one who have created that.
Correct.
So I believe, like, Mythos is one part. I'll say just the tip of the iceberg. I believe, like, from the security perspective, uh, there are, like, we work on 0 days, and a lot of things. AI is actually helping us also, like, in the point of investigations, and as well as finding our vulnerabilities and patching that up. 0 days, and something new is coming up every other time, where while we take an assistance from an AI, does the things faster. But I believe that the most worried part here would be, like, something which we have ignored so far. Now,
Okay.
now you are thinking more about cybersecurity because there is something which will exploit it at higher rate. What
Yeah.
about you have not done? Even at there are a lot of benchmarking out there. There are a lot of standards out there for which the compliance is one part of it, and second is how much seriously people are taking security. Like, for any organization I interact with, not only from BFSI sector, I generally curious to know what are you doing for cybersecurity. And if you ask me, the digital attack surface has increased like anything.
Yeah.
Even for the banking, while they have gone into the digital transformation and having, I will say there are still many banks still under digital transformation. Imagine they need to secure themselves. We first look at the functional aspect of anything, that how it could be functional, how it would benefit you. But at the same time, it is increasing attacks surfaces. And while the threat you might feel at the door, it is already inside that. Like, while I'm addressing a lot of incidents nowadays, we can see there are new signature malwares. The different attack methodologies, use of an not only email but also a voices while trying to do a successful phishing attacks.
Correct.
And it is not like we are watching this recently. We are, like, experiencing this, especially while working with law enforcement. You get little edge over corporate incidents. You can see the danger little ahead than the other ones. I believe that they have already exploited it to a very good extent. Mythos is just one thing that we are worried about. I believe there are more things which are still under the
Could you give
you
us an
know
example, Yogesh?
so example, like, recently we were investigating one of the an attack on a company and on their financial team, actually. And what we have seen, that the threat actor was already exploited that particular company
Yeah.
almost 7 months before, and they were just sitting on their system and watching it out, while the company already had done a good amount of you can say they have done their security testings, and they have good XDR and EDR solutions, firewalls. The bare, you can say reasonable, reasonable amount of security they had done. Still, the attacker can get it through with the help of new malware, fileless malware, the polymorphic malware they had used to get into it, spread
Okay.
across the organization, learn entire how exactly the financial transactions have been done, and then they have executed their attack on a system that financial guy used to upload that statement to bank every day for a certain amount of transactions, and they have modified the figures in that particular statements with the help of high tech, I will say, different tools that they have used. And then they were curious to know that they, first of all, they were doubting their own financial guy that he might have done certain changes into the Excel which they generally upload to the bank. But later it has been revealed that they have used a PowerShell script and also the hidden one, and they knew exactly at what moment they should have done that. So
Okay.
they are coming properly planned, organized, having a new malware. So your current XDR, EDR solutions won't, because they work on signature level detection.
Yes.
They won't realize that, and then they are so. Thankfully, it got, the bank was in a little transaction monitoring system of banks are really good nowadays. So they called up and said, yeah, we can see a different type of transactions, and will you validate? And then they get it has actually stopped. But what I believe here, the way the sophisticated attack the attacker has done here,
Exactly.
and they were actually waiting for that particular moment for almost 6 months.
That
So we have
would.
traced it back till, it has happened somewhere in the month of December last year, 2025. And we have seen the first entry into the system in the April 2025. So
Okay.
likewise, they are, coming very sophisticated
That
that way.
dedication by itself is
Also,
scary.
like using an AI to create new softwares. Like,
Yeah.
nowadays anybody can create a software, a basic software. They are using a new signatures altogether. Then they know how exactly the EDR solution or other, things are in place, how they exactly works,
Right.
and how they can bypass it out. So
Right.
likewise, again, what I want to point it out, reasonable is not enough now. Again, you are doing something reasonable is not enough. You have to be very serious about it. You have to ask yourself, you have to actually get it tested with the help of, again, with the help of an AI and properly expert people to understand where you stand in terms of cyber resilience. And then only it will help you out to be stronger than others. So they will probably attack you, get demotivated, and move to others. Something like that. A survival of the
But the
fittest.
fact that they are getting innovative with every incident is also the scary part. Right.
Yes, they are learning like anything. I think, for them, learning is their more bread and butter. In order to survive, have a new attack, they are learning
Absolute nightmare
I've seen
then,
for
Yogesh.
every tech I have seen,
Yes.
even for any new tech which will be there out there in the market, we can see that it has been already been abused by the attackers.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Yogesh. And again, this is a question for the both of you. Would you say that access to frontier cyber AI be regulated differently from general purpose AI? And also, could restrictions on access unintentionally, sort of slow down defenders more than they slow down attackers? I mean, who may already, have an access through, say, other means, like you were just pointing out?
Right. I think I can go ahead. So whenever there is a new type of technology, there is always a thought process that this technology might get overhand, right? And as everybody knows that if it is a powerful technology, then we need to have guardrails in order to basically use it, right? But the point of view of basically guarding it too much will also slow down the innovation probably from the new, like companies like us, right? We are actually dependent on these models to basically use them and then innovate in a way, right? Yes, we are actually deploying application layer on top of it, right? We are actually building platforms on top of it, right? And there are not just one or two startups we are talking about. There are many startups, plus these models are being used by multiple other enterprises to basically build multiple software, so on and so forth. So yes, there is a vulnerability, right? There is a problem. There are attackers. There are problems that are there. But still, the big picture is also truly beautiful, right? Because we can actually build a lot of good stuff into this world, right? So I think, yes, we need to have an army of defenders. We need to have an army of basically good people who are surrounding and guardrailing it. But we also need to understand that there is innovation that is always required by these type of technology, right? So the thought process should be that how can we basically maintain it in such a way that innovators are not getting impacted, right? I think that and a lot of governments in usage of these type of technologies have already come up with a model, right? From US to even in Europe, there are countries who are already implementing how basically we can use AI, right? And these frontier labs. And there is sovereign part to it as well, right? So there are companies who are trying to develop these frontier model for their own countries. Like we have seen, Poland has invested in 11 labs, right? Similarly, India has invested in Servam. Now we have already got the news that US government is investing in OpenAI, right? So I think they've chosen their own players. Now what we need to understand is that how we can guardrail it internally, and then even innovate on top of it, and then sell it to other countries as well, right? So that we are also able to export it outside and
Okay.
even use it internally in the country as well, because that's how the economy will grow, right? This is a new
Certainly.
technology and which can actually highly increase the usage overall in the economy, right? And basically can help us grow from other aspect. And India has been there in the application layer building part of it as well, right? So we are the people who have been able to build all of these application layer systems, right? And we have built it for the world from here. So I think we need to basically have those frontier models to basically innovate on top of it.
But the walls at the same time need to be high enough to, thwart any sort of threat actors that might be there.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
I second that to what Ashutosh has just said.
Yes.
We really need these AI things. That will speed up. Now again, if you ask us, we are not ready for facing even the normal attacks which are not AI built. So AI will help us build that resilience faster. That is the need of an hour. Now, if you restrict the access to an AI through certain things, rules and regulation, otherwise, same thing. Like it will also delay your resilience part of it. And meanwhile, you can restrict it to certain people. What about those who are nowhere around restrictions, like something on darknet if they release like that? So I believe again, second, what Ashutosh has said, has to be used and made available in a proper way to every businesses out there, every industries out there, so it can be used in a better, because I always believe there are more better people compared to threat actors. They are comparatively less working in this industry of investigation, at least. So we should look it at from more optimistic point of view.
Okay. Okay. I also want to talk about the RBI report here. The report identifies something, I believe, that should concern everybody who's listening to this, because AI is sitting on both the sides of the battlefield simultaneously. Banks are, like you were pointing out, banks are deploying AI for fraud detection. They are deploying AI for risk monitoring. They are deploying AI for compliance operations and, of course, customer service. Those are legitimate, those are valuable use cases, but at the same time attackers are also using AI to generate highly targeted phishing campaigns at scale, create synthetic identities, clone voices for social engineering, and of course launch attacks that are increasingly difficult to distinguish from legitimate activity. So this is not a sequential arms race where defense builds something and the offense responds. Both the sides are being upgraded at the same time using many of the same tools. So Yogesh, my question was to you. You have trained over I believe 35,000 government officers on cybersecurity. Now, in your direct experience, are the threat actors using artificial intelligence more effectively right now than the defenders, and what do you have to say? Who is actually ahead in this race on the ground?
Yes. So, this is a discussion almost every training session I have with the officers out there.
I can
I always
imagine.
urge them, I tell them very clearly, you are not even using 10% of tech, not only AI, the tech altogether
Right.
in your daily routine, in investigations, in many places. Okay. We are still undergoing digital transformation is the more worried part for me. And while they are not using a tech to a level that attacker are using, they are always behind them. They need to be really serious about using tech and AI, like which is a recent one. But the way the attackers have used and exploited it, they are much more ahead. Much more ahead. There is a huge, substantial gap, I will say.
Okay.
And that is a more alarming thing here. Government need to also focus that how they can be, a tech savvy departments, or their departments should be completely tech. I've seen a lot of experienced people in government departments still struggling to use a basic tech that is available out there. Imagine those who are been joining as a freshers
Yeah.
are in a better position to use tech, but they are less experienced. So that is something, something which is very really worried from national security perspective. Also, the security posture that we are trying to build, we are supposed to build a good security to invite many businesses to India. Okay. Also to have a good environment for who are running their businesses from India, and in that in addressing all those things, the law enforcement plays a very vital role here. Not only in terms of investigation, but also in terms of having those things safeguarded. And unlike you have asked, and it is a reality that we are supposed, we need to use this technology a lot. There should be some regulations being put across the government only, that the use of technology should be increased, and eventually they would reach to a level nearby, I will say,
Yeah.
the attacker using tech.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity. Ashutosh, from an AI governance and audit perspective, organizations are now being asked to deploy AI for security operations while simultaneously defending against AI powered attacks. How do you govern a security stack where the offensive and the defensive tools are increasingly using the same technology?
Right. I think, we banks are, they are aware that there are nuances that are coming to them. There are frauds. They have been working on mule accounts for a while now, right? There are fraud detections, and enterprises, even government enterprises like NPCI see huge number of frauds, huge number of cyber attacks on a daily basis, right?
Okay.
So when it comes to AI, what is required is that every step of the way there is explainability, right? There is auditability. There is observation, live monitoring system that can actually detect those nuances that are happening, those frauds that are happening live in the overall. So, as Yogesh rightly pointed out earlier, that whenever basically somebody is implementing AI, they also need to think about how basically it will be observed or monitored in the production environment. It is not just that you deploy the AI and just forget about it, and your numbers are increasing, your things are doing well, but it does but you're not worried about the attacks that might come in, right? You're not prepared for all of those things. And as Yogesh earlier also pointed out, that it is not just you need to be compliant from multiple angles now. It is like gone are the days when you were just doing the VAPT and all of those things. Gone are the days, right? We need to be prepared much deeper into that. And there has been a lot of incidents overall in AI, right? There are
Right.
resource hijacking that has been done, right? We saw it with McDonald's, that their chatbot was actually answering the Python script to a lot of their users, right? And they saw that, okay, resource hijacking was being done. So the attacks will be in multiple shape and form, right? And uh, that is what actually is exciting for all the other people who are actually the defenders, right? Who, if it was a boring job, it would have been like solved immediately, but it is not a boring job. You'll get multiple new type of nuances, new type of attacks on a daily basis, right? It is a super man type of a now job that you need
Yeah,
to get
I can imagine.
innovative as your attackers are, right? And from the perspective, now every banker or every fintech or NBFC need to think from a thought process of that there are checklist of things that they need to do, right? It is not just about deployment. It is not just about conversion. It is not just about revenue,
Right.
because they are in a business of trust. They are in a business of uh, basically governance of sort. So they need to think about AI governance from day one while they are actually interacting with any vendor out there.
Understood. Thank you for that clarity. Uh, India is, I would say, actively investing in artificial intelligence at scale. There is the India AI mission, of course, which is underway. METI has, of course, empaneled 6 companies to deploy artificial intelligence across government departments. The finance ministry is actively discussing AI's applications for financial services. Banks, of course, as we were just speaking about it, are adopting AI across fraud detection, customer service, risk monitoring, and compliance. But there is a gap that the RBI report makes explicit. AI adoption and AI preparedness, they are not moving at the same pace. The report reveals that many of these institutions still classify themselves as being in the developing, or I would say the intermediate stages of AI threat preparedness. That by itself, I think, is a significant gap, and it is the gap between what India is building and what India can defend. So Ashutosh, you work on AI governance, right? When you audit an organization's AI deployment, what are the most common preparedness gaps that you find? And specifically in financial services, would you say that the banks are treating every AI deployment as a cyber risk decision, or is security still being bolted on after that fact? Ashutosh, can you hear me?
He's muted.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, what we do with the NBFCs and BFSI overall, right, is we deploy agents, right, into their environment, into their digital environment, all of that, right. And when we do so, every agent that we deploy needs to have a maker checker type of an outlook, right? There there can't be that basically that you are deploying your agents and you are not able to basically check what they are doing, right? You're not able to understand what they're doing in the production environment, right? And the thing is that for fintechs, like small fintechs, for mid-size and small fintechs, yes, there they are more excited about deploying it rather than basically actually governing it, right? But for banks, there's no other option than that, right? You have to basically have it governed, or you have to monitor, you need to have audit trails from day one, right? And there is hard infosec that happens before even onboarding a vendor, right? Before even going live in banking environment, it is not easy to even get into a bank for any vendor, right? There is infosec, there is technology architectural review, there is lot of back and forth that happens, right? So I sell to BFSI, so I understand how hard it is to basically get into that system, right? So banks are aware. It's what is happening is even vendors are not ready to basically do all of it in one go, right? Because the preparedness is also not there on the vendor end, right? And also from the awareness point of view, some of the basically actors who are actually implementing it, let's say, doesn't know how to implement it, right? It is not a SaaS product that you can just uh, implement it and basically you are done. It is AI. AI hallucinates. AI is probabilistic. AI is not deterministic. So you have to put a lot of guardrails around it, a lot of governance around it, a lot of other things, right? So
Okay.
and even implementation takes a lot of time because every bank has a different use case, every bank has a different thought process. So you need to implement it very uh, basically going into very very detailed custom thing. So every custom thing requires custom governance as well, right? So I think preparedness is not there from both the ends, from vendor point of view to even let's say consumer point of view, right? So I think and this will take time, right?
Yeah.
It is not there even in US, right? We work with US clients as well. We have done multiple interactions there as well. So it is not there in everybody's learning, what I would say, right? Even anthropics of the world are also learning, right? So I think the probabilistic nature of AI actually is the thing that we need to tame on,
Yeah.
and with that harness that everybody is trying to build, we have to harness it in such a way that it is able to basically you are able to monitor, you are able to audit, you are able to understand the and explain it basically.
Certainly, Ashutosh. Yogesh, you are a resource person to RBI's own training institutions. What is the gap that you observe between what regulators understand about AI-enabled threats and, what the institutions they regulate are actually doing about it in the first place?
Yeah, like I have been in discussion with all the participants from different banks at RBI's institute. I am keen on knowing that what exactly they are doing when it comes to cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And unlike Ashutosh has pointed that out, a third party risk that we call, okay, your bank is secure. Okay, you have done all the things which has been asked by RBI to do it. What about the vendors who are bringing that risk from their end to you? Are they also secured like you? Are you keeping that same mandate? You are not having that mandate for the vendors, right? So I have seen that gap. I also asked them, okay, if they are, let's say, they have hired someone for application security.
Okay.
Are they also asking that particular company, are you doing reasonable security practices? Can you produce your audit reports of your information security audits of your own company? Who is doing an application security testing for the banks? And the answer to that, like there was entirely quiet classroom, that no one says that, okay, we have ever asked our cybersecurity service provider, whoever, because a lot of banks can't do their own cybersecurity. They have to rely on vendors again.
Third
Now,
party.
while, and
Yeah.
again, I have seen every organization have a different types of vendor. And what we have seen, a third party risk is always higher from those end.
Absolutely.
While I'm discussing with them, trying to understand what they are doing, these, that, RBI is coming really, really, serious on the part of they implementing cybersecurity, and there will not be any incident, because we have seen one incident from Pune-based UCB, and it has been compromised, and they have lost a lot of money in that particular heist. They don't want any such incident again to lose the trust factor which they are trying to build in. While I try to interact with the officials of RBI, they want more and more digital transactions. They don't want to curtail down the speed of digital transaction. They want to happen it at higher scale, higher speed, and with a huge amount of trust. But again, higher is the convenience, less is the security. When it comes to the basic pillars of cybersecurity, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
Yeah.
Availability is a very important factor. If it is available for me as a user at higher speed, definitely it will be available for an attacker at higher speed, and that's why you can see the amount that people are losing, like, because the customers are also, I can see the customers currently is the weakest part in the entire ecosystem of BFSI. Customers are the weakest because they haven't adopted the security. The bank has been doing it, and that's why you can see there are more targeted attacks now at the customer end. Prior to that, it was more targeted attacks on the infrastructure of these companies. They have built some resilience, but again, that resilience, if you ask me in terms of AI, now that is not adequate. Okay. So there are a lot of ways, and when it comes to defense, people who are into defense, I'll tell you, it is more challenging than attacking. Attacker requires only one door to enter, where the defense has to guard all the doors.
Absolutely.
And that's why it is a more challenging aspect. One mistake is enough for an attacker to exploit. And that is how it is becoming more and more challenging. But at the same time, I want to give some little optimism into this particular thing. AI is helping it a lot. While I'm serious about each and every aspect, probably if I'm, let's say, missing one aspect of cybersecurity, which Ashutosh has rightly pointed out, that saying that you have to take care of many things. It's not only one thing you have to take care of. AI is helping me. Okay, you have missed this part. You need to do certain things here as well, and that would actually build a resilience much faster than before, with the help of an AI being used by these things. But again, there are a lot of things they need to address, not only the cybersecurity but also the other aspects. So I think the AI would definitely help them out in a better way when it comes to defense capabilities.
Absolutely, Yogesh. In fact, you very correctly pointed out, when you keep attackers on one side and defenders on the other, the defenders have to get it right every single time. The attackers just have to get it right once, right? And keeping that in mind, would you say that we need AI stress tests for critical financial institutions, the way the RBI runs traditional stress tests for capital adequacy? And also, what should an AI resilient bank actually look like as per you by 2030?
I believe the AI resilient bank would look like where it is having a proper tech. Not only they should have have a tech in each and every aspect of their functionality everywhere, and then only the AI integration can come in place, and probably then we can see an AI defense mechanism also in place. Even now, there are a lot of operations which are not tech driven.
Right.
In BFSI, they are still, again, a lot of them are still adopting technology. Why we are little, behind than these developed countries? Because again, we are still not having an entire proper digital transformation. People are still relying on many traditional mechanisms. Whereas, yes, definitely RBI, and like I've discussed with you, they are pushing people, every stakeholder of this entire ecosystem, to get digitalized. So there will be more transparency, accountability, and also convenience. But at the same time, if you ask me, even now there are a lot of operations still non-tech, and if they don't, have a tech involved, and eventually, because AI cannot sit directly on your traditional things, you have to have a tech first, other tech, and then you can sit AI on that particular top of that particular tech. So by 2030, I believe that the banking operations has to be completely digitalized. And then if the AI is involved properly into every digitalization, then it will have a better posture by 2030. And they will be in a better position to defend all the new type of cyber attacks also coming in their way. Because now the digitalization is over. Now only you are looking more over on the part of how you will build your resilience. Now they have to do both things, and that is something to worry about. And that's why I think 2030, they need, no, I think again with an AI, I am optimistic that they could build it. The digital
Okay.
transformation could be finished earlier
Hmm.
than expected,
Hmm.
and also then they would be ready for future attacks.
Right, right. Thank you, Yogesh, for answering that. You know, what I also want to talk about here is the supply chain. One of, I believe, one of the most important and underreported findings in the RBI's financial stability report is about dependency. Most financial institutions, they rely heavily on, you, like you were talking about it, they rely on third party vendors for, cloud infrastructure, cybersecurity monitoring, threat intelligence, incident response, critical software. As AI becomes, embedded across all of these layers, concentration risk increases dramatically. Right, the next major cyber event may not even begin at a bank, for that matter. It may begin at a supplier, it could begin at a cloud provider, a threat intelligence vendor, a software company, even whose product sits inside the bank security stack. And when AI is sort of woven through that entire supply chain, the attack surfaces, I believe, no longer the bank's perimeter. It is the entire ecosystem. Ashutosh, from a governance standpoint, how do you think should banks evaluate AI risks across their entire vendor ecosystem and not just their own internal deployments? Would you say that existing third-party risk frameworks sufficient for an AI era supply chain, or you feel that we need something fundamentally different here?
I think what I see from my perspective is
Yes.
that there are two layers to it.
Okay.
One is the regulator layer,
Hmm.
meaning the RBI. So as of now, what happens is that the regulator layer, meaning RBI or IRDA or a SEBI, right?
Hmm.
These are the uh, organizations which actually direct uh, from the like the regulation point of view, right? They sometimes even go and audit these companies from
Right.
financial point of view. They even go and audit these companies from risk point of view,
Hmm.
right? So now there needs to be a framework for AI regulation within those organization point of view as well, right? So there should be an audit from
Okay.
AI security, from AI regulation point of view
Hmm.
for the safety of that bank or a regulated entity first. And I think then comes the second piece, meaning if let's say we agree that if a bank is being regulated, they are
Hmm.
able to withhold all of the regulation that RBI put together for AI regulation for them, then they also need to ask their vendor. And as you rightly asked the question, that yes, the attack can come from the vendor part of it as well, which is a very, I think it is more highly likely. As Yogesh was saying, that today most of the frauds are actually coming from the consumer point of view, right? The consumer of banks. Now, who are these vendors actually implementing inside those banks, right? They are more risk oriented, right? Because they are not yet ready, and most of them are startup like us, right? Who might not be able to afford all of it from day one, right? So for a banker, for a highly regulated environment, you can't let a newcomer come in without a VAPT or without all of those things. You can't actually, yes, innovation is absolutely necessary to basically grow, but you also need to basically understand that every other vendor can't be let in if they don't have proper treatment to it, right? And when I say treatment, it is not just from the perspective of that they have, let's say, an ISO certification or a SOC 2 certification. There are other things as well that also need to be taken, right? The questions that these BFSI needs to ask is, let's say, vendor should explain that where are these decisions being taken, right? Is it your environment? Is it your frontier lab that you're working with? Are you going to deploy inside or outside? Or even isolate customer data? Because see, for BFSI, customer data is really very important, right? Whether it is isolated or not, all of these questions needs to be asked while the vendor is being evaluated. And I think as of now, what I have seen being evaluated multiple times, I think we have been evaluated by 30 plus BFSI, right? So we have seen all that process, but I still believe that there needs to be more that can be done from AI governance point of view, from AI observability point of view. I think that is something that is still missing, and that needs to be in place by even vendors that are getting in within those banks, right? So I think, yeah, that should be the
Got it.
questions that PFSI needs to ask.
Certainly, Ashutosh. Yogesh, you have investigated cyber incidents across public and private sector organizations. Have you seen supply chain attacks in the Indian context that exploited a vendor dependency rather than directly targeting the institution? And also, how does AI change that attack vendor?
Okay, so yes, it is like third-party risk, and like I've told you, as an attacker, while I'm at defense, we also need to think like an attacker in order to defeat an attacker. And while we are trying to find the weakest link, unlike consumer, after consumer, the weakest link is the third-party vendors, right? Rightly pointed out by Ashutosh. A simple question, unlike I have asked them, that are you also asking the compliance report from your VAPT auditor? And absolutely no one is asking for it. So the thing is, I have seen a lot, many times, that these third-party vendors bring that risks to the organizations. Though it is in the RBI mandate that RBI can also audit your vendors. Okay, the way RBI are auditing the banks or other sectors for the whether they are doing compliance as per their regulations or not, there is also provision that they can audit the third-party vendors also. And there are also criteria set for the vendors. But what about those vendors sub-vendoring someone else? I've also seen that. Okay, the vendor is compliant enough, but he's not doing that job because his hands are very much full. He's sub-vendoring to someone else. Only the face is that. And the risk actually comes from that end. Another things which I feel that very, something to worry about, that while we use this AI, are we also worried about how we are, what about our data, which Ashutosh has also, I have little insights on that. Our data has been being taken like outside the Indian boundaries. Okay.
Right.
While we use these AIs from different countries altogether. Do we have our own data centers? Do we have our own AI? Are we keeping all that data here? Now, while you are talking about these vendors, what about the vendors who are having these AI and supplying these AIs to the banks? Right? And they are actually consuming the data of, I believe, India stands at a very leadership position in terms of market as well as an information. We are almost 15 to 17% of entire population, right, of the globe. Now we are standing and we are having a biggest market. Also, the amount of information being generated. Imagine why these AI vendors are giving it free to each and every individuals, while their data centers are burning like anything. They are optimizing their data centers for more and more users because they are data hungry. The AI is a data hungry thing. It will increase its capacity, the amount of data that we feed to it. But what happens to our confidential information? What about our other information? While AI sits in your organizational ecosystem, the amount of access that AI will have to your data, are you willing to go that access outside your organization through? Again, that's why the third party risk is coming. I can see coming from the AI itself, right? So there is a high time that either we should have our own Indian AI, solutions, or having an offline model that every bank will train themselves and use it inside, so the exposure to that particular data and the risk will get mitigated to some extent.
Certainly. The RBI report also reveals a pattern that is familiar from every major technology transition, which is technology scales first, governance catches up later. Now, most institutions surveyed classify themselves as either a developing or intermediate in AI threat preparedness. Meanwhile, AI capabilities continue advancing rapidly. Now, the concern is whether financial institutions can, even afford that lag in the first place. Because in cybersecurity, the cost of being unprepared is not gradual. It is very sudden. It's also systematic and, of course, potentially irreversible. Ashutosh, you specialize in AI governance and you've also written about the Gartner AI Tourism Framework and the ISO 4201. What metrics do you believe should boards be tracking beyond cybersecurity spend? And also, do you feel like AI governance should now be a board level responsibility in every financial institutions for that matter?
I think, see, when AI came in, I think last year to last year, there like mostly in 2025,
Yes.
every board was actually discussing how can we implement AI, right? So whenever we were having a discussion from any BFSI, from a leader perspective to even middle management perspective to senior perspective, the the thought process was that how can we implement AI and where all it can be implemented. That was the thought process now, right? Now that pilots are going to production and production is getting to scale, everybody is now understanding that there are threats of AI being hallucinating, AI actors being used in a different manner, right? There can be cyber attacks on AI, there can be resource hijacking, there are n number of things that can happen, right? So yes, I think we we are already seeing that there are a lot of board members, there are a lot of senior leaders already discussing and implementing these type of solutions. They are very very vigilant about picking up on, because they don't want to stop the adoption of AI into their ecosystem, right? They want to implement AI for their consumers, for their internal employees, for their processes, let's say underwriting, so on and so forth. A lot of things are getting implemented, right? A lot of AI in different workflows is getting automated, right? And now that agents are also at the cusp, right?
Yeah.
Every other workflow is being automated. So yes, I think every BFSI is actually having a AI leader now, right? And the job of the AI leader is not just implement, but also govern, right? And also have such tools which can help them understand whether these the agents that are being implemented, the AI that is being implemented, are they compliant enough or not? Are they regulated enough or not? Are they basically able to handle the nuances of production or not? And there are minute details that everybody needs to understand before even going to production, right? So I think yes, there needs to be, if there is not with any of the BFSI, they soon after realize when they go into production, right? Because there are
Fair.
nuances that comes into play, right? So I think,
Certainly.
and as you rightly said, Antara, that technology first scales and then basically there are guardrails put on it, right?
Yes.
I think that is what is happening with AI as well, right? But with BFSI, there is trust involved, there is money involved. So yes, we need to be very very vigilant. We need to understand that every AI that is going outside with our consumer, we need to be basically having those guardrails in before even deploying it. And now, from the aspect of deployment, right? A lot of vendors who are actually implementing this in BFSI environment, there are now specialized vendors who are actually doing it only for BFSI, only for e-commerce, only for different categories. So if they know nuances, and these are vertical AI companies that are actually emerging, right? So I think, uh, uh, and one thing I also wanted to, if any of the vendor that is watching, I think there is a true differentiation that can be made out, right? For BFSI category, let's say, right? If you have pure transparency in your systems, in your observability, in your governance, in your auditability as a vendor to your BFSI, it is a differentiation that you are creating into that ecosystem. So I think whoever is selling to BFSI or wants to work with BFSI, I think these are the prerequisites of working in this industry.
Understood. You know, India has invested heavily in AI infrastructure, right? The India AI mission is in fact underway. Government departments are beginning large-scale deployments. Banks are also adopting artificial intelligence across critical functions. But I believe investment in capability without investment in security is a liability. It's not an asset, right? The question is whether India can build security, governance, resilience and accountability all at the same speed as adoption, and whether we need a national AI security framework that sort of sits, right alongside the India AI mission. So, Yogesh, my question is to you. You know, you drafted the cyber crime investigation manual for Pune Police, I believe, right? And you sit on the review committee at Maharashtra Cyber Office. Now, from that policy and law enforcement perspective, what lessons should India take from the Mythos episode, and of course from global frontier AI debates about access and governance, and also what should we be doing in this, say, next 12 months that we are not doing today?
Again, I'll repeat that we need to have our own AI first. And if you look at, there are two aspects to it. One is hardware aspect, another is software aspect, right? We are lacking in both. Imagine these companies are struggling to have a hardware to cope up with the current demand of an AI model to be run at. You can see the impact even at the consumer level. At a end, like the companies has already gone into the frame contract with all these hardware producers, and again the production of this hardware is again imported. You are importing these hardwares from different countries altogether. Chips is not yet built in India, right? Again, the softwares that software companies that we are mainly have in India are doing those softwares for the companies outside India. Until we don't have our own built-in infrastructure, it is very difficult to have that particular dream come true, to have our own and compete with these developed nations. So I believe that India has to be really serious on the part of how we can have everything make in India, and then probably work around those aspects of, like, if you want to build that particular AI dream for an India, it starts with having each and everything you have in-house. You cannot, imagine your dependency on certain things like natural resources on different countries has put on us on a very difficult situation in like couple of months before. Imagine your dependency on other countries for getting these hardwares, softwares, other resources, energy, right? So, we cannot just think for temporary solution here. I believe so. We have to look at something permanent. And that, I think it's a high time for India to think about the other things which we require to build this AI dream come true. All the things. Right from, we have a good amount of talent pool, but we don't have resources. We are a resource hungry country. Definitely, to have this much population, served, we need resources again. So those resources, I'm not going into the different aspect of those resources, but again, those which is a basic building blocks of any computing thing, you don't have it with you. Okay.
Correct.
So I believe immediately what we need to do is to, I think, unlike, open our market so the other countries may have those things built in here, have our Indian companies build those things, promote those investors or startups who are willing to do those things inside India ASAP. Okay. So we may have certain things made in India, not only in terms of softwares, but also in terms of hardwares.
Certainly.
Also, because this is not sufficient, we also need an energy, right? So also giving boosters to those startups who are giving certain things that we can sort our energy related issues. So if we address everything, an AI may help us understand what else we require to have an AI dream come true,
Right.
right? So if we address all those things at a time and government takes everything seriously, not only just a cybersecurity, right? Then probably we may get in competition by 2030. Some
Absolutely.
competition here and there. But yeah,
Absolutely.
that is something it's something to, get reality check for everybody out there, especially the government part of it, that we have to focus on many aspects to have these particular things come true for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Yogesh. I mean, Ashutosh and Yogesh, this has been an enthralling conversation. It's been an educational one. And of course, in the interest of time, we'll have to wrap this segment. But what I want to leave my viewers is with this. The RBI has done something important with this report. It has moved the cybersecurity conversation from server room to the boardroom, and from the boardroom to the, of course, to the realm of the financial stability itself. Now that framing by itself matters because it means that it's no longer just a technological problem. It is very much a governance problem, it's very much a regulatory problem, and increasingly a national security problem as well. And India is building fast. The India AI mission is underway. Deployments are scaling, and of course, UPI is processing millions and billions of transactions on infrastructure that was not designed with AI era threats in mind. Now, that the gap between what we are building and what we can defend is very much real, and that RBI has now said so in writing. The question now is whether the institutions, the regulators, the boards, and the government respond at the speed the threat demands, or of course whether we wait for the incident that makes the response unavoidable. So gentlemen, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you here on Point Break, and ladies and gentlemen, whoever is tuned in right now, we'll see you again on the next episode.